Hey friends, welcome back. Today I am working on week 27 in my 2023 Project Life album. I've got a bunch of printables here from the latest release from Citrus Twist. This is the Routines collection. I've also got that same kind of like little stash mini kit that I've been using for a few weeks, maybe months now. I'm going to use that again today, but I'll be honest, I don't end up using a whole lot of it, just the puffy heart stickers, to be honest. So I'm just going to add a little bit of stamping and keep the embellishment really, really minimal. Starting off by picking some cards. I've printed out some journaling cards. I always end up printing like not exactly what I need. I just pick the ones that I think might work. So I always do end up with a few little extras. And the other thing that I usually do and have done this week as well is print out some of the digital papers, but I generally print them in either a 4x6 size so I can cut them down like I'm doing here, or I print them at like say a Life Crafted album page size so I can always trim a 4x6 out of them if I want to. Now I've gone ahead and done my journaling, and yes, I very easily could have done that digitally before I printed the journal cards, except that I'm filming for you guys, so I don't know which card I'm going to use before I do that. And so this one just went straight through my typewriter. It's a little bit messy, but it is what it is. The other thing that I had printed was about a half an A4 sheet full of these little elements, and I didn't bother cutting them on my Cricut or Silhouette. They were all fairly basic shapes. I figured I could fussy cut them. That's what I did. The straight ones I did on my paper trimmer. The round ones got circle punched, and everything else I just kind of fussy cut with scissors. And it didn't take me more than 10 or 15 minutes. So not a big deal at all, I will say. I mean, that definitely is longer than it takes on the Cricut, but probably not longer than it takes to set up the file. So here we are. I've added a few bits and pieces, and again I'm going to kind of peel those back as well too. I feel like I've got some kind of brighter, busier, kind of colorful photos this week, and the papers are all like sort of super pastely bright colors as well, so it doesn't need a whole lot in the way of embellishment. But what I have pulled out here is my I think it's called Cozy Days. No, Slow Days. It's the Slow Days stamp set. It's one of my favorites, especially for this kind of time of year. Lots of cute sentiments on there, and I am going to use a few of those on my photos or cards. So I did double stamp that. I was just really careful, and I didn't do too bad a job. I've just used Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and it wasn't particularly juicy at that point, so it needed a double stamp, even though I was stamping onto that Printables paper, and I used the Canon matte photo paper to print my printables. So it really does like suck up ink, like it gets really bright, like really saturated colors. It just didn't do too well with my empty ink pad, so I double stamped it. It looked okay. I've added one of the wee digital elements and then a couple of those puffy heart stickers I was talking about. Now this photo here, I mean, I always feel a little bit self-conscious taking photos of myself while I'm by myself walking, and so they always end up terribly composed. Like this one, it had a whole lot of blank space, but I figured it would look okay if I could fill it up with stamps or elements, and that's exactly what I've done. So I used another one of those Slow Day stamps, stamped that straight onto my photo, and I print on Canon Photo Glossy 2 paper, and again it absorbs the ink really well. And then I added a couple of those little printable elements. One of them I did have to trim down so that it would fit. But I kind of just stacked those into a wee block in the blank space of the photo, and I did switch around the placement of it just so that I could add a third kind of more like clustery card down here and get that kind of visual triangle. I do love a visual triangle. This time I'm doing it with more kind of like clusters of things. So I've got those two littler photos clustered with stamps and printables. One of them's got the puffy heart stickers, and the other one at the top. It just kind of going to keep everything else a little bit simpler just because those ones have a bit more going on, so it just gives a little bit of balance. So as much as I wanted to chuck on a whole bunch of other stuff onto here, we got a new fridge and I did a fridge restock. I figured one little stamp is actually going to be more than enough, so I popped that on there, just added a little bit of kind of interest to it by pushing the stamp off the edge of the photo. There's obviously plenty of blank space on there. I could have put it in the middle, but just having it underneath it, and I added another puffy heart, and you can see it kind of becomes a part of the cluster of that smaller card, so I don't break up that visual triangle too much because it kind of becomes part of it. I figured now was a good time to work on my title card before I go too much further. The alphas that I had in that mini kit, they just weren't going to stand out. I ended up picking this kind of rainbow plaid paper. It needed something a little bit bolder. I went for my go-to foam alpha, but there's a serious problem. I do have 2 sets of these alphas, but I only had 1 E, so I'm going for my usual kind of little trick at a push. If I need an extra E, I use an F. I actually end up using 2 Fs. I use 1 full F, and then I cut the little bottom piece off the second F, line it up underneath, and it gives me a pretty clear E there. I'm going to just pop my date stamping onto the label underneath. That came out of the elements, the little digital elements too, but I do have a bunch of labels, printable labels onto the side for this sort of thing. And then I really was sort of like, I feel like that's it, except that I've got that one photo in the middle. It's got nothing on it. It's the only card that's got nothing on it. I decided that I would go ahead and just plonk a stamp on there too. It's the same kind of thing as my walking photo, like there's a lot of kind of blank space in there, so it fit the stamp centered in there absolutely perfectly. So that's it. That's my layout all done. I will leave a link to the printables that I've used in the description box for you. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple of videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye.